going on, guys? Physics here once again. The start of another new build diary. This is Physics Helix is a Trap. And this build diary series is going to run congruent to the Physics Bubble Beam TR champion. Reason being is it's finally time for me to stop procrastinating and get some delving. And by delving, I mean heisting done. And if you have spent any time on my stream, you know that I absolutely hate heist. I avoid heist as much as I can. And for the TR champion, it's time for me to start heisting. And I decided I would knock out two birds with one stone. And there's a build that I've kind of been putting off playing for a while now, being Spectral Helix Impale. And this build needs a heist unique from one of the heist quest lines. So if you're wondering why, why this character, why now? This is going to be basically my heisting character. And I'm going to try to, like I said, knock two birds out with one stone. Get the helmet for this build so I can test this build at the same time I'm getting stuff for the Toxic Rain champion. So I'll go ahead, I'll throw a map in here. As you can see, I'm level 71. I actually got to maps really early on this character. Got to maps at around like 62-ish. So I've actually been mapping for a little bit now. Basically yesterday was just a really chill leveling stream for the most part after playing Toxic Rain for a little bit. So basically the way the build works, you'll notice my damage is pretty crazy, but I do have a good weapon and I am on a 6 link. But basically the build works, nice. Is you'll throw out Spectral Helix like as you like run through the map kind of, and then Spectral Helix just has such high base damage that the idea here is that it only kind of needs to pass through like a small amount of the mobs one time, and then Call of Steel will just completely clean them up after that. Like I'll show you here, I only attacked once, and then when I hit Call of Steel, most of the mobs die. Yeah, so if you, for a really big pack like that, you attack 2 or 3 times, walk away, and then Call of Steel, everything dies.
I can't do this just
Clear
yet.
isn't that bad at all, though do note that I'm using projectile speed as one of my links, which doesn't really give you a whole lot of damage, but I feel like it's kind of necessary at this point because until I get the helmet, which is called the Fledgling, by the way, you kind of like really need projectile speed on this build. And before anybody says, but wait, Fizz, projectile speed is technically bad because it makes your Spectral Helix disappear faster. Well, yes, the mechanics behind Spectral Helix, the way it functions is that it will always do a set amount of rotations. So if you get projectile speed, technically it will finish the rotations faster and thus won't be out as long. It's not like EK or something like that, where if you get projectile speed, it'll technically go further. It's not the case with Spectral Helix. Projectile speed will make it not be out as long. However, like for clearing, you kind of want to get to the third, as you can see, they got completely destroyed. You kind of want to get to the like second, third rotation as fast as possible on the build. So that's the map showcase, but if I kind of like attack here, you'll notice how it spirals like twice. And then on the third spiral, it actually has some decent area to it. You kind of want to get to that part as fast as possible because the first two do effectively nothing. If I had to take out my faster proj here and I attack, look at how long it takes to get to this third rotation. It's like 2.5, 3 seconds. That makes clear feel really bad. So again, to put this back in so you can see how big the difference is. It's like a massive difference. So right now I'm using a link. It's not that big of a deal because later on you kind of want to get overleech with the build via timeless jewels. But until that point, cruelty is kind of like the best thing you can get, which isn't losing that much damage, compared to damage on full life support. Faster proj though, like really, I don't need a 6 link to be clearing, excuse me, to be clearing like white maps or yellow maps. So I'm doing this right now. Feels amazing. Really helps with the clear speed. But yeah, so I will go over kind of the passive tree, and then we'll go through the gear, and then we'll go through the gym links in that order, assuming I don't forget. Okay, so starting off with the tree. Basically, leveling as champ, I'll tell you what I did in terms of the ascendancies, but I don't recommend you do this. In first lab, I actually took Master of Metal because basically this character was really to test how Call of Steel felt with Spectral Helix, right? And to that end, I wanted to start impaling as fast as possible. You could very easily just level with like Herald of Ash until you get to Merc Lab and grab Master of Metal, and forego Impale. But I wanted to go Impale as soon as possible so I could kind of feel how it felt with Call of Steel, right? So in first lab, I actually went Master of Metal, and then once I got to Cruel Lab, I unspec'd Master of Metal and went Unstoppable Hero and Fortitude. So what you're likely to experience if you do this yourself is you just kind of, again, what like similar to the TR champ, is you just don't do normal lab until you do Cruel Lab, and then you do them both together, as Unstoppable Hero gives you literally nothing unless you have Fortify, and since Spectral Helix is technically a range skill, you won't get Fortify. Which, real quick, I want to take a small tangent and say that it is completely ridiculous that Spectral Helix cannot give you Fortify via the tree. Like, it seems really off to me that Lightning Strike and Frostblades and stuff like that can give Fortify and are technically strike skills, whereas Spectral Helix cannot give Fortify, but is objectively much more melee than Frostblades or Lightning Strike ever have been, right? Like, Frostblades, you're attacking like from you're hitting the whole screen without moving. Spectral Helix, especially for single target, you have to be like on top of the mob, right? Anyway, that aside, that's why we have to go champ, by the way. We need Fortify for the build because it is quite melee. Playing melee builds without Fortify is a little bit monka-ass, as you can imagine. So that's the whole idea behind the build and why you go champ for it. Also, just the flat damage for Master of Metal is really nice to have on the Impales, especially since you're only hitting most mobs once before you use Call of Steel. So, my routing early on, I basically pathed exactly how it looks I pathed, right? You can only go one way through here. Though while leveling, I did take Destroyer early on. I just used Splitting Steel until level 12 and then immediately went into Spectral Helix. Spectral Helix is really strong early game. Does a lot of damage if you have a good weapon. So I pretty much rushed Call to Arms and Soul of Steel. So at first I went down, grabbed Soul of Steel, got Determination, and then went into Bloodless, into Call to Arms. The reason being is because I actually linked Blood Tap really early on. So as you can see here, I have the Vitality mana reservation still allocated. So I got my Determination and my Vitality to fit in real early because I was also at this point using Herald of Ash. So I needed everything to fit in my mana real nicely. So as you can tell, basically everything except Enduring Cry at this point is linked to Life Tap. You can see my life going down there as I attack, but I can sustain at this point. That's why I pathed the way I did while leveling. You don't necessarily have to do that. There wasn't a whole lot of POBing or planning behind any of this. I literally just looked at PoE Ninja and yoinked someone's build. So, I did not go down to the bottom right here. This is just a ton of damage. You do get a little bit of survivability from the Mastery node here, but I did not path here until basically maps. After I yoinked this, I kind of just slowly pathed up here. I ignored Juggernaut and Harpooner for quite a while. Again, you don't need Harpooner until you're going Impale. I grabbed Barbarism. After Barbarism, I actually got Slaughter. And then I grabbed Resolute Technique. You can grab Resolute Technique earlier if you need to, but just check your character sheet. If your chance to hit is 100% while leveling, there's no reason to waste the points on RT. I only grabbed RT around like Act 6-ish or Act 5-ish, somewhere around there, when I noticed my chance to hit was on the lower 90s, high 80s. That's like around the time where it can start to feel a little bit bad if you're missing. But before that, there's really no need. That's why I went for this Slaughter first. And again, I did go Impale really early, so I had to use 3 passives here and then 2 passives here at the time for my Call of Steel Jewel because I had not yet pathed up towards Constitution, so I had to use 2 passives for that. Anywho, after that, grab Tireless, go up, grab Born to Fight and Heart of the Warrior. Once all of that was done, I grabbed Constitution with Iron Grip. Iron Grip making your strength damage bonus apply to projectile attack damage. If you're wondering what that is, every 5 strength you have, you get plus 1% melee phys damage. So instead, well, as well now, because it doesn't like override the old one, but you get 1% increased projectile damage as well. Nice little boost to damage there. Once I got those, I started pathing to the right here. Now, what am I doing? Well, now I'm grabbing a few more Constitution minor nodes, as well as starting to path up here because I need to go for Devotion and discipline and training. So before anybody goes, wait, Fizz, you can path up the left side and save a point. No, I can't, because I need to grab discipline and training as well. So it's much more efficient pathing to go up the middle. So I can be closer to both nodes versus going up the left here and then pathing over. So yeah, that's pretty much the passive tree. My last lab will most likely be inspirational. Yeah, I think that's it for the tree. So now, moving on to the gear. So my gear is actually pretty okay in some spots and absolutely awful in other spots. So boots, just really generic leveling boots. They have 16 life, 15 move speed, and 11 res. Not good at all. You can see there's 13 armor and 3 energy shield. Again, level 71, just got the map, so I just threw whatever on and we leveled the character. So a lot of the stuff is whatever. Belt's pretty good though. We got 99 life with a bunch of resistance on it. About as much as you can ask for starting mapping. Very nice belt. My Behemoth Fist. These have been a recurring leveling set of gloves that I've used on a lot of my characters. Just really nice. Gives a lot of strength, a lot of life, good amount of fire and cold res with good sockets. Onto the rings. This 2-stone isn't anything special. It just gives a lot of resistance, a lot of bang for your buck there with crafted on life. Next up is the Amethyst ring. This ring is actually pretty solid as it's got a tier 2 life roll with a decent chunk of lightning res, and then you can craft on res as well. It's got open suffix. Onto the amulet. Amulet's tier 1 life with the open suffix. That's pretty much all it is. This build really needs dex and it really needs int, so turquoise is probably the way to go. Helmet. I'm sure you guys know this one. This is just a skull head. Typical leveling unique. Makes resist easy early on. Onto the chest piece. This is just a corrupted 6-link I had. Picked it up from like the corrupt chest you get from sextanting that makes like items drop corrupted. Basically popped out of a chest, had a 6-link, and it's okay, right? It's got 70 life and 32 lightning res, so it's not completely dead stats, and it's a 6-link, so worth using, whatever. Next up is my Kurui Chopper. So this weapon is actually pretty damn good, especially for the type of content I'm doing. So I've got tier 2 flat fizz, bench crafted on, percent fizz with a harvest lucky reroll, which gave me absolute max roll on that. And then I also have tier 1 attack speed, so really good. See, if I had gotten a hybrid percent fizz roll on this weapon, this would be like a literal like GG weapon. This would be like an 800 DPS weapon if it had a hybrid roll on it, but it doesn't. So it's pretty okay for now. 600 plus DPS chopper will easily carry me all the way through most content in the game. Now onto the gyms. So these gyms are not final. Again, one last time, I did just bring this character through the campaign. Things are not optimal yet. So in the boots, I'm running Dread Banner, Impale Chance, nothing to say there. Enduring Cry, Vitality, just basic things. In the gloves, I'm using Ancestral Protector with Flesh and Stone and Berserk. In the weapon, I'm using Leap Slam with Life Tap, faster attacks, and Blood Rage is also linked to Life Tap, though you don't need it. That's just kind of how it worked out. And my unlinked socket is Pride. Do note that I'm not using Pride right now. It's not activated as I've not taken the mana reservation efficiency nodes. So right now I'm using Determination, Vitality, Flesh and Stone, and Dread Banner. And lastly, in the helmet, I have Molten Shell, Cast when damage taken, Determination, and Splitting Steel. Why Splitting Steel? If you don't know, it's because it gives me access to Call of Steel, which is this awesome ability that I'm spamming right now that rips out my impales and gives me a million times better clear speed, give or take. So, how do I feel about the build thus far? It's pretty good, though it seems to be very reliant on getting the helmet. What does the helmet do? I will actually pull it up for you guys real quick. So this is kind of a very important item for the build. Here, sorry, let me hide my stream timer. So the Fledgling, you get this from Heist, and this is why I decided to make this character now. So what does it give? Well, it gives you a ton of projectile speed. It gives you a ton of projectile damage. It has a good amount of armor and evasion, which is nice. And then Far Shot. And what Fire Shot does, as you can see right here, 20% less damage to targets at the start of the movement, which isn't very important for Spectral Helix based on how the ability works, especially once you get projectile speed, this becomes even less of like a hindrance. And dealing up to 60% more damage to targets as the projectile travels farther. What you're likely to see in a lot of your like gameplay is your initial like 2 rotations of Spectral Helix are not going to hit a whole lot. Most things are going to get hit from all these outer ones. Even, again, I haven't done this myself, so this is kind of like just theory on my end, right? Is that like while fighting something like Cirrus and stuff, he teleports around so much. So what you're likely to do is you're going to jump on Cirrus, you're going to start throwing these out, and then he's going to teleport, and then he's going to get hit by the Helixes that have already rotated outwards, if that makes sense. You jump on Cirrus, you start like blowing your load here, and then he teleports over here and then gets hit by all of the full power Helixes. That seems to be the way it works. And then obviously 60% more damage. As you can see, like when I'm clearing the maps, I run through and you're like throwing out a Helix and then it hits everything. So it has like a lot of synergy with Spectral Helix here. Now, in terms of this line, projectiles cannot collide with enemies at close range. I don't think this does anything for Spectral Helix. I could be wrong, but I don't believe it does, simply because Spectral Helix is like an infinite pierce projectile. It will never stop on things. So, to my knowledge, it doesn't affect it, but I could be wrong as I haven't done a whole lot of research on this, right? So, I think that's it. Right now, initial impressions of the build, a lot better than I was expecting, to be honest. Though I don't know how much of that is me getting carried by a pretty good weapon and a 6-link right now. Though my 6-link is more like a 5-link. I'm just using it for projectile speed, and it's not really giving me a whole lot of damage at all. The damage increase is actually really negligible because it's just a small increase damage. It's not a more multiplier. If you have like a 3 green, 3 red socket, if you want pure damage, then Cruelty or damage on full life is the way to go. Though Cruelty is going to be a lot more consistent than damage on full life until you get Overleech from, you know, from whatever. So, yeah, that's pretty much the character at this point. I don't think I have anything else to go over. Let me know if you guys are excited to see this one. I've been kind of wanting to mess around with this with a little bit, but last week I didn't get around to it because I had other stuff going on, and I tried the elemental variant of Spectral Helix rather, last league, and I really didn't enjoy it at all. You know, just doing the typical raider, crafting lightning claws with like additional like added cold or whatever, and getting the blizzard crown, or you know, just the full elemental like strike claw archetype. That's kind of a thing now, like basically lightning strike but with Spectral Helix. And yeah, I wasn't really feeling it. It felt really clunky and awkward to me, but this one feels a lot better, honestly. And it's also incredibly tanky, obviously, because you have determination, you're a champion, fortify, all sorts of stuff. But yeah, let me know down below. Have you guys played this? Are you enjoying it, etc.? Things I maybe need to look out for the build. As always, character POV will be down below in the description, as well as timestamps to everything in the video. And then yeah, TR character is not banded or anything. He will be running congruent to this character in the build diary series. I'm going to try to do 2 at 1 here, 2 at 1 time rather. And yeah, that's going to be it for me. So if you like the video, feel free to thumbs it up. If you don't like the video, feel free to thumbs down. Tell me what I can do better. And if you like me, maybe consider subbing. That's it, boys. Have a good one. See you in the next one.